All right, oops, that's not a good camera angle. There we go, now we're live.
Okay.
We're on.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is Historic Preservation Commission meeting, August the 2nd, 2021. Want to take the roll?
Joe Chappell.
Here.
Darrell Covington.
Here.
Valerie Duncan.
Here.
Adam Ropp.
Here.
Patrick Kerr.
Here.
James Long, not here yet, but I think he's on his way. And Lynn Bilodeau.
Here.
All right, we definitely have a quorum.
And I assume nobody's signed up for public comments
Nope.
other than those applicants that are going to speak when their
That is correct.
thing comes up. Next thing would be approval of the previous minutes from the regular meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read those minutes? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, Joe seconded? Okay. Joe Chappell.
Yes.
Adam Ropp.
Yes.
Patrick Kerr.
Yes.
And Lynn Bilodeau.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Item 4, HPC application 21-013, discussion and potential action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for a new charmed boutique window signage for a building located at 117 West Oklahoma Avenue. Do we have a staff report?
Yeah, this is continued from the last meeting, as you may know, because there was concern that there was going to be a solid background. I was in contact with the applicant in that she could not be here tonight due to work commitments, but I told her that would be okay because we got the information we need. It is not going to have a white background. It is going to have the typical, and I thought I made a copy of it because she sent it to me. Here. It's going to have your typical transparent, just the letters. It's going to look something like that. So it won't have a solid background.
I make a motion to approve.
A second. Any discussion? Any discussion before we vote on that?
All right, Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Darrell Covington,
Yes.
Valerie Duncan,
Yes.
Adam Ropp,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr.
Yes.
Perfect.
Item number 5, HPC application 21014, discussion and potential action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for new The Grand Ole Barbershop window signage for a building located at 103 West Oklahoma Avenue. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the little unit that's right there on Oklahoma off the Gray Brothers building, right at the intersection of Division and Oklahoma. As the sign indicates, they're looking to have a barber shop go in there, and they will have one sign on each window, and it'll be basically 2 foot by 2.7, almost 2.5 feet, about 5.4 square feet on each window. The main requirements is not to exceed more than 1/3 of the window, given the size of the windows as well as the signage. It's not even close to 1/3 of the window, and there aren't currently actually any signs on the windows right now there and that from any previous business. So the applicant is here if you have any questions of him.
Why don't we go ahead and have the applicant step forward just so you can state your name for the record. Tell us where you live and your name.
Hi, I'm Jean Ambrose. I live here in Guthrie.
Okay, thank you, Jean.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to the report that Mr. Kasich just read?
No, but I do have some color selections if you need those. Or do you need them because if it's from the already pre-approved historical palette? Yeah, for the sign.
These colors here.
Mm-hmm.
And is this pretty close to representation of the colors that you?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
really, really close.
Okay.
I have a question. I noticed in these pictures that, are there going to be 2 signs?
Yeah, we were wanting to do one on each of the larger windows.
Right. Well, it looks like these windows are angled. It looks like there might be 4 windows. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, no, just exactly what's actually on there is where we were.
Other
looking
than
to put
there's
them.
no solid background.
Right.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one question I was gonna have. Is this gonna be transparent too, or is it gonna have a
Yeah.
white background?
You might be able to speak on that a little bit more. I think the original design has it with the white
Oh,
background.
okay.
It does have the white background on it. The company that we're using, it was either the white background or we don't have to have the white background on that either. So it's preference to what the Historical Society would prefer.
Well, I mean, we
pretty-
factually rejected somebody last time because of
Yeah,
it would be really
go with
bad
the
if we did.
transparent.
If you're fine with the background being translucent or transparent, that looks a lot nicer so you can kind of see into the building.
Yes, sir.
We could pass it with that as
Okay.
a stipulation.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
sir.
That it would have to be.
the font and logo design is like, this is like, you can't get any more ideal for the kind of Victorian look that we want for town.
Yeah, very-
I mean, this is like,
Very good design.
you can almost use it as an example piece of how the signage we like to look. I mean, this is great.
That's exactly what we're going for. We're trying to get that Victorian look and
Yeah.
being,
Did you have someone design this for you?
Yeah, my sister-in-law, actually, she's one of the co-owners,
Oh,
Oh, nice.
but
She did
she
it
dabbles
herself?
with this in her spare time, yeah.
She did good.
Yeah,
It's a
thank
great-
you.
It's perfect.
Thank
yeah.
you.
And you're gonna have, I just heard through the grapevine, you're gonna offer like razors,
Yeah,
shaves.
straight razor shaves,
I mean, you're
hot
on TV, You can
lather.
advertise now.
Yeah.
I might throw in a little advertisement.
Well, I won't be doing it, but he will be doing it.
Yes, sir. We will have straight razors, hot towels, hot lather, old school chairs, and what I mean 1920s, 1930s chairs that have been refurbished by my brother-in-law, who's also the co-barber with me, owner. And I mean, we've restored them from practically nothing to something that's operational now. So,
Very cool.
yeah, I mean, you all should come down. We're going to be in there for lunch this afternoon. And just take a look if you'd like. We open up our doors tomorrow. We have a ribbon cutting on Friday and grand opening on Saturday.
Are you gonna cut the ribbon with a straight razor?
We might. That's a great idea. Yeah. That is a fantastic
Fantastic
idea.
idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Joe Chappell?
As long
Oh,
as,
yeah, with the condition that it's a transparent background, yeah,
the motion is as long as.
Transparency.
yeah.
Okay, motion is that the sign be approved.
The transparent
provided it's a
background.
transparent background to
Yep.
it. Okay, and is the second still stand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Joe Chappell?
Yes.
Darrell Covington?
Yes.
Valerie Duncan?
Yes.
Adam Ropp?
Yes.
And Patrick Kerr?
Yes.
All right, 6-0.
Thank you all, and good
Thank
luck.
you.
Good luck with your new venture. As well.
Who here's had a razor shave from a barber? I never
I
had.
never have.
It's great.
You've had one?
Oh, yeah. In Beverly Hills.
I'm going.
Yeah, it's nice.
Okay, item 6, HPC application 21015, discussion and potential action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for new Yum Yum Junction window signage for a building located at 109 to 111 South Division Street. Do we have a staff report on this?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the building, actually, I think a couple meetings ago, had the windows for the alley. But as you stand on Division Street and look at the building, it'll be on the right side, or the unit that's on the right side that's currently the Beaux-Art Mortgage. They're going to be having an ice cream shop in there, and they're requesting 2 signs, 2 foot by 4 foot, 8 square feet for each window. And my understanding is that it will be a transparent background. It'll be just what you said without a white background on there in that. The applicant could not make it tonight in that, but it's one of those things that we'll make sure that that's the case. I don't think they have a issue with that.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve with that contingent.
That it be a transparent background? Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all right.
Any other discussion?
Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Darrell Covington,
Yes.
Valerie Duncan,
Yes.
Adam Ropp,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr.
Yes.
All right.
Did you call my name? I don't think you called my name.
Oh, Lynn Bilodeau, you're right. I'm sorry, Lynn.
Yes.
yes.
I just want to get in on the record. I want to
Right.
get in on a winner, you know.
It was an assumption, I apologize.
We're in for it.
No, I never thought that. Yeah, we haven't got to that point yet. Item 7, application 21016, discussion and potential action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for reconstruction of the lower primary front facade for 2 buildings, both on Oklahoma Avenue, and side street facade of 1 building on Wentz, to include new windows, doors, canopies, replacement of all upper facade windows on both the primary front facades and the side street facade for buildings located at 202 and 204 East Oklahoma Avenue. And looks like we have a lengthy staff report on this.
Yes, I won't go through detail by detail, but obviously the applicant's here because I'm sure you're going to have questions. But one of the things I just wanted to point out is I handed out kind of an updated what you all have because there's some proposed light structures that they want, or fixtures that they want to put on there, and I think a little bit more information. So you'll have that as you're updated, so use that instead of what was in the staff report.
Okay.
But as indicated, this is the building that was the former bike shop, and there's a Mexican restaurant next door right at Wentz in Oklahoma. The owner has both buildings. They're looking to combine the building, as you saw from the drawings, a restaurant-type use, and so it would be functioning as one combined building versus 2 separate buildings. The proposal, as you indicated, does a number of things. They're looking to replace the windows on the upper story. They're going to redo the front facade on Oklahoma, and also some adjustments to the street side facade on Wentz. The windows in the upper portion, they had given 2 types. One was a double hung, and the other was, honestly, I don't remember what they were, but they were like divided into 8. I had talked to the applicant that the double hung would be the most appropriate because that's typical of what we have in most of our buildings. They did not seem to have an issue with that, so we'll just make sure that if there is an approval in that window type be the preferred window type. The windows are going to be aluminum clad wood windows, which we know is appropriate. So that takes care of the windows. But the front facade, as you can see, will have a complete makeover. The current state of the front facade is, unfortunately, like many we have downtown, well past its original historical aspects. It's the windows with, I think, aluminum dividers and kind of in somewhat disarray, but not too bad. And they're looking to take that and put literally a garage door. 2 of them, the one that would be on the Wentz side as well as the smaller one on the Oklahoma side, would be retracting doors so they could have more of an open air feel. The other one that would be to the on the more eastern side of the Oklahoma front facade would not open, but it would obviously be, as they proposed, similar to the others for matching. They're also going to put new canopies on the Oklahoma side, and then there's going to be over the entrance that's kind of right at the corner, and then also on the Wentz side over the existing doors, and then also at the back part where there was the salon in that. The signage at this point would not be part of the approval because they weren't sure on the specific sign package, so I told them that's fine, that can come back at a later date. So we'd be looking more at, again, the obvious facade and exterior design elements for tonight. And like I said, the windows on both sides, the Wentz side as well as the Oklahoma side on top, will be replaced. I provided you a great deal, but a decent amount of information regarding what should be looked for when doing storefront facades in a historic district. Most of it was taken from the National Park Service, one of their preservation briefs. To be honest, our design guidelines nor that have any specific prohibition against it, but obviously there are, certain factors that with existing buildings and what we as a community would be looking for in that to take into consideration. So I'll just leave it with that if you have any questions of me. If not, the applicant's here and they obviously can, if they have a presentation or answer any questions.
I have questions of you before we get
Sure.
to the applicant. On the west side, obviously,
Yep.
there was something painted right there.
Yeah.
Do we know what was there?
No, I don't. I only assume it was some type of signage. Yeah, but I don't know what it was. It wasn't, the bike shop didn't have anything there.
Right.
Yeah.
Did, and I know there used to be a Harley Davidson shop. Is this the building that used to be the Harley Davidson store?
It might have
Does
been.
anybody know that?
I know way back in the day, like some of the early historical, it was a buggy shop. It was like for buggies and that.
In
And
this
that's why,
building?
what, yeah, in that building. And I think that's why this is kind of the way it is. I think there literally was probably like a garage door or a large opening door there back
Yeah,
in the
that's
day.
obviously not what this one is.
But
Okay.
the photo evidence, and I think Joe has it, it's very hard to see.
It is difficult.
Yeah.
And
But just the
here's
way
where I'm
that-
going with
yeah.
this. If this was a buggy shop, it had to have garage-sized doors at some point.
Right, and I think-
Probably slid.
Right, and that's what I was saying. I think this side one was probably definitely
I
that.
think it was.
Yeah.
Because that's the same way my building was. It
Yeah.
had a big sliding door out
Yeah.
front. And we've got a faux sliding door on there to, as Joe would say,
Yeah.
give a wink and a nod to.
Right. Because it's definitely too small to be a true storefront, but obviously too large to be a traditional door even back in the day.
And then, on the Oklahoma side, I mean, it would be impossible to say whether one of those was also a buggy.
Yeah,
Because see, ours was front and back, so you could drive carriages straight
Right.
through.
yeah,
And I'm assuming that there's not a one-way in, one-way out situation on it.
right. And of course, those probably did function as two separate buildings for most of their time. So that was the thing, is I don't know if it would have been on the front.
This part of, I mean, it looks like one building, but this part of the building wasn't even there.
Oh, sure enough.
See, it was just these three windows.
So the part to the east of what's on the corner, Joe's got a picture of where it
Oh, yeah.
doesn't even exist. It was added on. Obviously, it was.
Yeah,
added on
definitely.
In a manner that made
Yeah,
it.
the
Yeah.
Schmidt building was
Right.
built to look like it was part.
Right, part of it, or at least, like you said, fit in.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
And actually, I don't think these two buildings, you can't walk from one to the other inside. can you?
they are going to make it that way.
But you can't
Right.
presently.
No, right. They had a separate
two
firewalls and that, yeah,
separate
right. But obviously through the building permitting process and that, they'll get the permits to allow that. And that's why I said they were going to use it as a combined building with that ability in between to get through.
okay. And I'm assuming the applicant's here. Come forward and state your name for us. And see if any of the commissioners want to grill you.
Okay, sure.
No pun intended.
My name is Mark Taylor. I'm a registered commercial interior designer, and I office in Edmond. I'm also on the State Board of Architects, so these meetings resemble very much what I do every time with that. I appreciate what you're doing. And I'm happy to answer any questions. The couple of statements, I hope that the packet you have has some historical images in it and references of where some of the inspiration for what we have designed has come from. Even the divided light windows, which I'm trying to mimic with the retractable doors, are in a building here in Guthrie now. We would have no problem, of course, of doing the what's the window type you
The
mentioned?
double hung?
The double
Yeah.
hung window, yes, on the upper area. The signage that you see is not at all what we are applying for. It's just an image, especially for you just to get kind of what the overall feel would be. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Which building, you said that the garage doors was like another building in town?
It should be the last page of your packet. There's a,
Oh,
well,
on this one? This packet?
it would be the newer packet. It's got a building that's quite colorful, and it has divided light windows all over it.
Oh, gotcha. Sure. Color inspired by these. Gotcha.
Yeah, because he's talking about the building that was like Stacy's.
Oh, Granny
Yeah.
had one.
Yeah, right, or Grant, yeah.
The
Because they have some of the kind of windows.
Up above the.
Yeah, right.
Double.
Yeah.
And I've chosen all the colors from either the Sherwin-Williams Historical Preservation Palette or the Benjamin Moore Historical Preservation Palette.
I gotta say, just from a purely aesthetic, looking at it, I mean, it's a major improvement, obviously. It looks really,
Thank you.
really nice compared to what's standing there right now. Anybody else have questions for the applicant?
So the doors are gonna be made out of what material?
They should be wood or vinyl clad wood.
That's good.
And the intent is for the bottom panels to be wood and look like your storefront panels that are already in a lot of your downtown.
And that takes away a lot of objection. I was worried when I first saw the pictures that it was gonna be a pure metal facade or
Like
metal.
a aluminum door, like what's on the old fire station?
Yeah, or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously we want to give
Right,
it a
you want it
fresh
to look historic.
look,
Okay.
but we want to honor the guidelines as well, so
Okay.
that was the intent of the design.
And then again, just to make sure, so the doors, the actual man door.
Right, those
traditional
are,
doors, yeah, what are those made of?
those are intended to be normal storefront doors, which will be made out of an aluminum frame, and they will be in the bronze color.
Is that gonna be like, it looks like that's gonna be the modern commercial kind of door.
Yes.
that-
Yes, I am seeing those throughout the downtown. If that's not the correct thing, I would certainly be open to modifying that.
I mean, the ones on them now are not correct. I mean, the
Correct,
the one you
that's right.
inherited, I mean, the one
Right.
that's been probably been on there for 50
Right,
years.
those are just aluminum doors, and
Right.
ours would be much more subtle because of the color.
Do we have a good picture, catty-corner picture of the proposed man door? Pedestrian door, I guess I should call it pedestrian door, not a man door.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
sexist,
really,
right?
Because if you look at the door next on Boutique 206, I'm not saying it has to look just like that. I'm just saying that's an example of a, of the
Yeah, because,
Victorian
Rather-
historic.
rather
I am
than-
very open to.
Okay, and I
Making
would,
that
I would much
adjustment.
prefer to see a true raised panel door there. I
Yeah.
think that's Guthrie,
Okay,
is for
Yeah.
the big solid wood raised panel door
I have no problem
on
with
the
that in the
pedestrian
design.
door.
and I'm assuming that would be for all of them, even on the west side?
The pedestrian,
Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah.
pedestrian doors.
Yeah.
So do you prefer them to be a raised panel door with no glass or a raised panel door
Well,
with
it
half
can be either
glass?
up
way.
to
A lot
you,
of them
yeah.
have almost a giant panel glass in there, kind of like
Yeah.
the one that you're showing right here.
Right.
And that would be fine as well,
Okay,
instead of a raised
That's
panel
up
door.
to
I
you.
don't have a preference one way or the
Yes.
other. I just wouldn't want to see
Metal.
what looks like a metal door there.
right.
Yeah.
And we go aluminum clad wood for windows because that's just a concession to the permanency of the product.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to have any windows in it at all, or you can have almost the whole thing as long as it's the wood, you know.
Yeah, structure frame,
Structural
yeah.
frame, yeah, that's up to you.
Understood.
That's your,
That's just fine.
your design at that point. It'd be cool.
Yeah, because recently with the Prairie Wolf, now Wonder Folk, they have an all-wood door. It doesn't have glass, but it is an all-wood door. Yeah.
So do I have a motion?
Hold on a second.
Excuse me.
Oh, more
Just a
discussion.
clarification on
Go right
the
ahead.
brief description of the project. It states that the windows will be vinyl clad wood or other materials, but it doesn't state the materials for the garage doors, the retractable doors. We need to have that stated and approved.
Agreed.
Yeah. Because, oh, go ahead, Mark.
I would say, I would love to hear the preference of the committee concerning that.
Well, metal clad wood is the preference, is that not correct?
Aluminum clad.
Aluminum clad, yeah,
Aluminum
right,
clad
wood, yeah.
wood. Because they can profile that very similar.
Right, to wood, to true wood,
to
right,
true wood.
yep.
So I have a question then. If we were wanting to do contrasting paint finishes on those doors, like a lot of your storefronts here now, would that be would it be acceptable if the door would need to be all wood and no aluminum cladding? For that
All wood
purpose?
is acceptable.
Oh, we would
Okay.
love you then and
Okay.
Yeah.
bring
all
you
wood would be
champagne if it was all wood. Yeah, I mean, that's, all wood as a general rule of thumb makes us extremely happy.
Yeah, because like I said, Prairie Wolf, that's what they have, is they have all wood and they stained it with a darker color in that, but,
So all wood or aluminum clad wood?
yeah, yeah.
I love the awnings. I love your light choices. I mean, that's just great, yeah. Very Victorian. I would suggest doing Edison bulbs, LED, but you do whatever you want. And that's off the record from this. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I get excited about light fixtures.
They won't put out a lot of light if they're.
No, they
Edison
won't.
bulbs.
But that's the point. It's the ambient. No, you do what you want.
Any other discussion?
Well, I'd like to go on record and say that the design, I like the awnings, the lights and all of that. I have a problem with the retractable door that faces Oklahoma. There's a historical precedent, perhaps, for the one that faces onto Wentz, but there isn't on Oklahoma. And this is such a drastic change to the storefront. I just don't think it fits with the Victorian feel that the downtown has always gone for. And so this is a much more industrial design, in my opinion.
It is.
Or
And
structurally though, it would have no different look than the current old fire station.
James, thank you.
which is also a mistake.
Well, yeah. Hopefully it's gonna look a lot better than the old fire station looks.
Well,
like.
sure, but as far as structural.
Right.
Saying it's one large opening, so it wouldn't have any different of a feel than what our current fire station does. It's the same rectangular garage door.
Which should be changed.
And Valerie, I don't know that we know whether that had a large door on the Oklahoma side or not.
It didn't,
Oh, okay.
it didn't.
Okay.
I've seen historic pictures now.
Okay.
There possibly could have been one on the Wentz side, it's hard to tell.
Sure. Okay.
It was a Packard dealership at one point, so it makes sense for them to have either carriage doors or an overhead door someplace.
Okay.
But the storefront onto Oklahoma never had one.
Okay.
I mean, what's there now is not historic. This is one of the things that was probably grabbed in the 50s or 60s or whatever, and they did it. But then we run, so this is like a very big precedence we're setting where do we, because somebody did something in the 50s or 60s, do we then allow whatever modern feature we want put downtown because somebody did it in the 50s?
It looks like a fire station.
Almost.
I mean,
I'm not saying either way, I'm just putting that on the table for us to think about is all I'm saying. So like, I'm not saying he's doing this. You're not doing the example I'm gonna give now. I don't go and go, oh, here's a modern door here with metal and glass, so I'm gonna put a bright pink door with a elephant sticking out the front, and if you say, well, that's not historic, I go, well, it's not historic there now, so I can do what I want. I'm not saying you're doing that,
I understand.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Or do we need some more discussion?
That's the fire station.
Do we need more information about the historic appearance of the building?
No, and let me tell you, I trust Valerie's judgment. If she says that was not a large opening on the Oklahoma side, then I'm pretty comfortable that it wasn't. I'm fine with that. The picture that you showed, Joe, that showed does it show, I don't even remember.
There's so many people in front in the picture that you can't see the
For people that are watching this, Mr. Chappell has a picture of the building on his phone
But see,
before the
look,
Schmidt.
it looks like
Oh,
an
it's a sea of
89er Day
people.
parade or
Okay,
something, you
okay.
can't see,
So
I
we
can see
really
the
can't
door
tell.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're stacked up on top of each other, you can't really tell.
WD Packer buggies.
Where's the picture
Supposed to
from?
preserve stuff. I think.
Yeah,
Preserve
Oklahoma
history.
Territorial Museum.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
from the museum.
from the National Historic Society.
Nothing historical.
And just so I can clarify and make sure you guys understand, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but the actual doors or the storefronts, those are going to be wood, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, because I think Darrell was wondering about that, correct?
Correct.
Because the actual retractable doors or the doors they have there are actually going to be wood. They're not going to be metal or like a modern garage door. They're going to be wood. So I just wanted to make sure that was understood.
Yeah, and James and I just spoke about a decent point. So onto my little rant I was just saying earlier. So we were to preserve historical stuff. What's there now is not historical. We're not preserving history. We'd be preserving 60s. So technically, if he tore out the spot here, he's willing to tear out, he's only tearing out 60s or 70s, whatever decade that's from.
No, you're
Putting
absolutely.
into something else that just looks nicer, that's also not, he's taking out non-historic and putting in non-historic.
No, you're absolutely right, because very few buildings in our downtown still have the original or even somewhat the original, because like you said, unfortunately, a lot of them were significantly changed in the 60s and 70s, and some of them somewhat remain there. Some have gone in what some would say a more positive direction with changes and all of that, but you're right, there's nothing original to that other than the actual structural brick part of the building.
But it is part of the town site.
Yes, no, I agree.
Correct.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
the standards are that you should try, if you're going to make design changes
Yes.
like this, you should try to do it in keeping with the overall design, the historic design of Guthrie.
Is this a contributing building? In the,
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes,
It's
yes,
listed,
yes, it is,
it's
yeah.
listed as
this
a
is a
contributing building.
contributing
Yeah.
building?
Both of them?
Yeah, because as Valerie indicated, they're part of the National Landmark Historic District, not just within the district.
Right.
All right, I have another question. I'm not trying to argue in favor or against the applicant. I was asking, if he's putting it back to wooden, let's just say he does purely wooden firehouse doors, what did firehouse doors look like back in 1919?
Well, they probably wouldn't have been retractable, they probably would have been sliding.
Yeah, I agree. They would have been
Right.
likely sliding.
How would it have looked, though? It wouldn't look like this, is what I'm saying.
I mean, to be honest with you, they're probably fairly crude in terms of just wood sliding doors.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably could have even just been solid.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just
Maybe some-
literally a crude piece of wood that slides open. But
I mean, my question is,
Yeah.
if he was putting these doors in the original, in what is the firehouse, we would be ecstatic. Would
Absolutely.
we not? So why can't we be ecstatic that he's putting them here? Just because this wasn't an original firehouse, I don't care
Yeah.
that it wasn't. I think it looks outstanding. And I think it would be a huge improvement. And I don't think it takes away from the historic integrity of the building at all. In fact, I mean, with the many small window panes, I think it looks very of the time.
And the only thing I want to add, and I put it in the staff report, you know, I took, and again, from the National Park Service Preservation Brief number 11, there was, again, rehabilitating historic storefronts. And part of it was deciding a course of action. And if you look at basically the second paragraph there, it talks about if the original or significant storefront never exists, it alludes to the fact that a contemporary, more modern storefront is not necessarily unacceptable. And it talks that it should basically not take away from the historic building, meaning the overall building itself in that, but it alludes to the fact that, you know, a more contemporary design could be approved. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, and that's why I added some of that information in there for you.
So with all of that, do we have a motion?
Was everybody done? Patrick, what do you think?
We can discuss after the motion's done.
I just want to know, Patrick.
Sure. What do you think, Patrick?
Well, I like this a whole lot more than I like what's existing, that's for sure.
I agree.
But I also understand where Valerie's coming from too.
Certainly.
You know? How come I always feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place?
Because you usually are. That's what this commission is.
Everything James said at the end of what he just said is true.
I agree with that too.
It makes it look better, it's better than what's there, but that's not really our guidelines as far as like, well, it's better than what's there.
And Valerie is correct. I mean, I ordered the picture from OU and I have not received it yet. I did it over email as they requested. But on that west side, this corner was originally a buggy manufacturer. If you look at the dimensions or the size of that door, that was more than likely a garage door on the west side.
Sure.
But I think if you look at the overall appearance of the building,
What is the actual plan? Do you know what the plan is for the restaurant with these two doors that go up?
Yes, I do.
What's going on once they're?
The two sides, the goal is to combine the two sides into one facility that can be used either separately or together. So the side that is now the bicycle shop is planned to be a bar and grill. However, it will have access to the sizable commercial restrooms that are being planned in the 204 side. So that would have access, but not necessarily the larger front portion of that building. That's intended to, the 204 is intended to be sometimes restaurant or a restaurant overflow, but mostly as a special event center. So it'll be great for meetings, small receptions. There's been talk of even having a thing like Sunday brunches in there, or weekend type restaurant that would be a little more upscale.
And the plan is to have these, open, this place be open air? Or the
On the bar and grill side, yes, they would love to create that open air feel. Just walk in walk in or out through there. There's even room with the depth of the sidewalks to explore the possibility of even some outdoor seating, and it would be a beautiful setting for that.
So weather permitting, you open the two doors.
Right.
It's breezy, you have some tables out on the sidewalk.
Exactly.
area. Okay.
What do we all think about Valerie's point that even though it's making it better and it looks better than what's there now, that the idea is if they're going to do construction, it's to try to make it more Victorian?
my question is what's not Victorian about that?
Well, I think when you look at the guidelines, number 4 about frame, maintain the historic relationship with the storefront to the facade of the building, I don't think we're doing that in this case.
But Dan, you mentioned that if there isn't a storefront there to save, something more contemporary is not.
Yeah, and again, that's per the National Park Service. I mean, our design guidelines, to be honest with you, are somewhat irrelevant because they haven't been really followed anyway. So now's probably not the time to start being a stickler about design guidelines there. But in the National Park Service part of it, like I said, their preservation brief, which talks about rehabilitating historic storefronts, that's why I provided all that, because it's obviously pertinent to this particular case.
I'll add also, because you asked about the interior a bit, we have quite a wonderful collection of antique items that are going to be used in the interior as well, including very old gas pumps and cars, and some very unique lighted signage that is old. And it's going to be a very, very fun place for people of Guthrie to attend.
I gotta say, I really like the look of it. I don't know that it's reasonable to expect every applicant to try to make every building look exactly like it looked in 1892, especially when you consider that we don't know exactly what it looked like. And there have been a lot of huge changes over the years to it. Any other discussion? Anybody want to make a motion? I would make the motion to approve this, provided, like Dan said, I don't think we got that first off, that the doors are going to be wood construction, and that the pedestrian doors, or let me back up, the retractable doors, wood construction, and the one that's going to look retractable to match on Oklahoma is also wood construction. The pedestrian doors, and I don't have a preference whether they're true raised panel without glass or the full, almost the full length glass, but as long as those are wood. I like the double hung aluminum clad windows. So my motion would be, provided those are all wood, within the guidelines, that we approve it as, otherwise as applied for.
So you're saying that the actual garage doors too would be wood? Is
Yes.
that your-
Isn't that what you were saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and they had proposed that, so.
And that's
yeah.
in the proposal.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make
Okay.
it.
We were just making it clear that that was the
And
case.
The pedestrian doors also would be wood.
Yeah, which would be a
And
slight change.
I think it's a winner. I think it's a great use of that space. And I like to see people investing in Guthrie.
Okay. Still looking for a
Let
second.
me ask,
Oh.
Mr. Taylor, is there a way to modify the appearance of those retractable doors where they look more like a storefront than a firehouse door?
I'd have to say I don't know how that would be in the fact that they have to have some separation horizontally to create the sections of the door. And my concern, the one reason I chose the multi-divided light is that I think that has a much more historic feel than doing a very long panel of glass or something that looks like the modern garage doors that are on some of the other buildings in town. So I specifically modified it to give it the look of the multi-pane windows that you see in some of the other buildings.
Okay, but we still need a second. We have a motion.
We have a
but-
motion, we don't
yeah.
have a second.
So the motion is that the doors will be wooden, the doors you walk in individually will be wooden.
Yes, and then the double hung windows versus the other ones. That is correct.
A second.
Okay. Now, if we want further discussion.
Anybody have any further discussion before
Joe,
we
I
vote?
haven't heard from Joe in a while.
Joe was lost in space on this one.
I have a question. The color. I mean, is this the color we're gonna do? It looks like a light blue or gray.
It is a blue, and it was modeled after another building in your packet where you'll see a tremendous amount of that blue. And that
Yeah.
blue, it is more accurately shown.
Yes.
here
On the last page.
Because that's what I was going to say. The renderings show it in a much lighter version. It's
Correct.
actually darker.
Yeah. The rendering by RGB color correction is correct, but it does not appear that it is.
Yeah.
So it's more correct on the color palette that you'll see, the center blue color there.
Buckland,
Yeah, because it's actually the, oh, they had the name on it. Buckland Blue.
Buckland.
My only hesitation there is to me, somebody who works a lot with wood, I like wood that looks like wood,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know of any blue woods, you know, brown or cherry or mahogany or you know, to me,
Yeah, but-
and the brick, you know, this is very contrast to the color of the building.
But in Victorian, I mean, you've got a lot of contrasting.
Yes.
And you've got a lot of wood painted colors
But
that
it's
don't
not a
look like.
Victorian design.
I understand.
It would make it easier. I'm not saying you do this. It would make it easier for me if it was black.
More woody.
What's that? Or wood, yeah.
Or wood.
Darker color.
I would have no problem with it being black as well. Maybe some,
You have a first and you have a second, and that's
What's this-
really getting
yeah.
into someone's design.
Yeah. That's why I say you didn't have to do that. It's
Right.
the same as easier.
But it-
Joe, what do you think? I'm putting you on.
Yeah, we should vote and then, yeah, because we have a motion and a second. And again, just, we know wood doors, wood pedestrian doors, and the double hung windows were part of it, and then the rest is as proposed. So, Joe Chappell,
I'll vote yes.
Darrell Covington,
No.
Valerie Duncan,
No,
Adam Ropp,
I am going to, I don't know. I don't know how to vote.
well, you have to, unfortunately.
I know. I wish I had more time to talk with everybody about it, but, can he bring it back again next month?
For what reasons? Well, let's finish, well, we really need to finish the vote. Yeah.
I know. I will,
The what?
I will say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Patrick Kerr
Yes.
and Lynn Bilodeau.
Yes.
All right, 3-3. And abstain is the same as a no.
I'd recommend you appeal it to council.
to the city council.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I appreciate your input.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to us. Any staff comments?
None tonight?
Commissioner comments? Yeah, my only comment is, and you know, it's easy to second guess this stuff, but I mean, we're not all about economic development, but we need to take some of that into consideration, and here we have some people willing to invest heavily in downtown Guthrie, and we need people to invest heavily in downtown Guthrie if we're gonna bring it back. And sometimes I think we let the perfect get in the way of the good, and I think that's what we just did. So just something to think about in future meetings, and I know not everybody agrees with that, and we don't all have to agree, that's why we have votes, right?
And I'll just add that this was at least certainly not in my, this was a difficult vote, even for me, because of the fact that it is Oklahoma Street, it is, after all, a garage door. This is actually the Historic Preservation Commission. I think the vote ended up, so close because it was difficult. I struggled with my decision. My decision was based on the fact that, I've lived here my whole life and I've watched that building, and that building has always been a bit of an eyesore, and what you're going to do is better. But I certainly understand and respect the preservationists among us that want what is best for Guthrie. And they need to err a little bit, I'll disagree with you, a little bit on the side of perfection when it comes to preservation. So, even though I voted.
I obviously struggled, and I think everybody could see that. I didn't even
Yeah.
want to do it. I wanted more.
And I meant no disrespect to the opposing view, I think we have to be careful with letting the perfect get in the way of the good.
I agree.
So, any other commissioner comments? With that, we're adjourned.